Have you recently had a change in your state withholding taxes and you're trying to figure out how do I update that in the software itself? Well, that's the topic of this week's Planning for Profit Minute. When we dig into the software and start looking at it, again, remember, when you ran originally, way back when, you actually ran through the new company setup wizard under the setup icon and created your company. And if you remember, when you did that, you entered in the actual withholding, both percentages and limits for your company. Now, the software actually automates a chunk of that because we will give you the state withholding limits. We give you the federal withholding limits. As soon as you specify your state, it populates all that data. And each year we go back into the software and update that tool for the next year. Now, those withholding limits usually aren't released by the individual states until sometime in December. And so many times, if you roll your company data over before that data is in there, well, we don't have updated data. It hasn't been released yet. So you might have to go back in and change that number. To make the change is actually fairly simple. But there's one place where some users get a little bit twisted around a little bit. And that's that if you click on your model name, in this case, Standard Business Model for 2024, if I click on that, it shows me what all of my withholding percentages and the limits are for my company. And the concern that we get is, well, Bill, I went in here and my state unemployment tax went to 4%, and I changed that and hit OK. And now when I go back into that area, it goes right back to where it was. This field here does not give you the ability to save the data. It simply gives you the ability to see what it is really all you're doing here. And so to change that number permanently in the software, we have to go into setup to make that happen. So when I go into setup, I'm going to go down to company models. All right, so in this particular case, I've got my standard business model and it shows every year that I've got it in there. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the rate for 2024. So all we need to do at that point is we're simply going to go over to, right, that is my active model. I'm going to go over to the 3 action dots, right, and we're going to edit this particular model. Now when I get into this piece of the puzzle, first off, you can see that for the model, it's got the defaults for your hours worked, your non-billable time, some of the other hours that we've got. As we scroll down on this page, we get the boxes right here, which shows us our default employer taxes. Now, again, these are the values, the Social Security, the Medicare, along with their limits, the federal unemployment with its limit, that automatically populates when you chose your state. The state, we actually populate the limit for you. You have to give us the percentage. We can't, it's unique to your individual company. So if on any of those that you need to change them, you simply come right here. And let's say my state unemployment tax is now changed to 4%. Simply change it here and I can save my changes at this point. Now, those limits, both the percentages and the limits are unique to each individual model year. So I just made that change for 2024. It does not impact any previous year or any other model that you might have. If you have multiple copies, multiple models in your company, it's not going to impact the other ones. It's only affecting this one. Now when I go back and look at my those defaults that we had by clicking on my title at the top, I can see my state unemployment tax is now set to that revised rate of 4%. It's as simple as that. Once we're done, right, you can go back and now use the software. All of your numbers have now been updated with that new withholding rate. It's as simple as that. Use the tool, make sure your numbers are accurate. And that is this week's Planning for Profit Minute.